After what was maybe the weirdest bowl season I have ever seen in my life, there is so much to talk about. I'm joined once again by Gabriella Vitale. She joined me for the bowl preview, and now we're here to review all the bowl games, talk about next season a little bit, and yes, we will be talking about Alabama TCU scenario for the final time. Gabby, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for coming on once again. I appreciate it. So we're going to start off on a sore subject. There's going to be quite a few sore subjects for you.
Yeah, just a little bit.
We're going to start off with the Las Vegas Bowl, Oregon State versus Florida. I really thought Florida was going to put up a fight. As a partial Florida fan, what are your thoughts?
It's funny in my notes say, "LOL, we didn't get shut out." So just glad we could put up 3. I really wished Florida gave more in this game because Jack Miller, coming from Ohio State, as me an Ohio State fan, I really just wanted them to see play well, and I knew Anthony Richardson was obviously going to leave after this year, so I was hoping we kind of could find that quarterback to, step in, and he didn't play well at all. The only thing Florida had to show was a nice field goal with 37 seconds left in the game. Florida did have a heck of a lot of players out, but still, it was just flat out embarrassing, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I was just shocked on how, not only did they just lose, they got beat down. It wasn't the worst beatdown of a bowl season, but it was up there. It was pretty brutal, and I just didn't understand. You could tell that they were hurting, missing a lot of guys. You could tell they were hurting not having AR-15, but in general, it just didn't seem like they just seemed flat from the get-go. Oregon State, obviously, it probably was a bigger deal for them to beat an SEC team.
Yeah.
Because this is the first time they've been good in a long time, and they have a very bright future next year with DJ coming in, and I think he'll actually take leaps and bounds from where he was at Clemson. I think he just needs that fresh start. But overall, they're going to be in a tough Pac-12 conference next year with maybe some of the best, might be the best quarterback conference in the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
But, Oregon State, long-term, they're definitely in a good place, top 15 finish. You got DJ coming in. Yeah, you're going to have to compete with Washington and Michael Penix. You're going to have to compete with Caleb Williams and USC. Bo Nix is coming back for Oregon. UCLA, somebody transferred to UCLA? I feel like somebody transferred to UCLA. Somebody might. I don't know. I might be wrong on that.
I don't know.
But I can't remember off the top of my head. But UCLA will probably be maybe not as good as they were this year, but they'll still be competitive. It's going to be a very, very deep conference. So going forward for Oregon State, obviously, bright future. For Florida, I feel like it's kind of the opposite.
It's honestly like losing because, okay, so ready? We bring in, what's his name? Graham Mertz from Wisconsin to come in. Wasn't the best guy you could have got from the portal. I feel like Florida, I don't know why. It's when they ever hired Billy Napier, I feel like we're not putting up like that big fight. And I don't know, maybe I have too much like my limit, like my benchmark on them is way too high, but you see all these other SEC schools, like with Tennessee with their first year head coach, they brought Heupel in, like, just why can't you reciprocate that? I don't know.
Yeah, it's just I was higher on Florida than most people heading into the season. I'm going to be very low on them heading into next season. Yeah, they kind of screwed me over a little bit with that take. I was very, very disappointed in just the way the season went for them, especially after beating Utah week 1.
Yeah.
That was a game I had them losing, but they somehow pulled it out, and then they just went downhill after that.
They just seem very flat. It's like they're not really, like, Oregon State ran over them. Their defense was absolutely outstanding, and Florida just couldn't respond to absolutely anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's move over now. We'll go to the Armed Forces Bowl. Baylor, Air Force. I said Air Force was going to win. Mm-hmm. If not a lot of flack for that because probably many people didn't care. I got a little bit about it, how, there's no way they're going to beat a Power 5 school. I know Baylor had a very good start to the season, but just like the rest of the Big 12, except for TCU, TCU fizzled out at the very end, but they fizzled out. They completely fizzled out, and I think Air Force just the thing about the Air Force is they stuck to their play style. They ran the ball. They played good defense. Baylor just couldn't score. They could not handle Air Force's defense. It was one of my favorite bowl games to watch because I was right on it, and I wasn't right on many this year.
Yeah, Baylor, 0 for 11 on third downs is little. You can't really win if you're not going to convert. kind of unfortunate ending to Baylor's season with 4 straight losses. Ends the season below 500. They got a lot to, fix up next year. I know they just got quarterback from Mississippi State, Sawyer Robertson. So hoping that he can do something for them.
Yeah. And obviously, I don't think TCU is going to necessarily repeat the way they played this year. They're going to kind of take a step back. So the Big 12 is going to be wide open again. I think Texas is obviously opens up as the favorite because they're going to get Quinn Ewers back. And even if he doesn't have a great year, they have Arch Manning back there. Mm-hmm. So they have Texas is probably going to open up as the favorite. But overall, I mean, the Big 12, I just don't look as they're the bottom conference in the country out of the Power 5 conferences. So yeah, Baylor, I think they'll probably compete for the Big 12 next year, but I think Texas is probably going to run away with it.
I mean, it's a little upsetting for Baylor because they lost the guy that was supposed to come in the 2023 class to Oregon. He switched to Oregon. So
okay, yeah. I was thinking of the Florida guy who went to Miami, then was going to Florida.
Oh.
And then they promised him all this NIL money, and they couldn't pay him, and now he wants to go back to Miami.
Oh, is it? I know who you're talking about, but I
can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, no.
That's another thing talking about Florida, another disaster situation. I don't know how you can promise money you don't have, but nonetheless.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, Baylor, they'll probably be a little bit better than they were this year. Maybe not going to be much worse, but I think they'll probably play in the subpar bowl game again next year.
Yeah.
Air Force probably be right back in the Armed Forces Bowl again. They're going to probably win the Commander Shield again. So let's turn over to the last of the non-power New Year's Six bowls I want to talk about, which is probably the most entertaining bowl game outside of the playoff games, the Liberty Bowl, Arkansas versus Kansas. I would have loved to see Kansas win this game. They put up a fight at the very end. They came back. Weird play to end the game. Weird play on that 2-point conversion. I don't know why Daniels didn't just let it in, but overall, Arkansas, solid win. I thought they both were solid teams this year. I know their records didn't show it, but they both looked very, very good at times this year. Also, both looked very, very bad. I think Arkansas is going to take a step forward next year. Kansas, I hope they're in the same position. I hope they don't fall back to the bottom of college football. But overall, what were your thoughts?
I wish I had closed captioning of what their mindset was going through that play, because I really just wanted to know what I didn't really understand it. I guess if it worked and they actually scored, then we would have been like, oh, great play call, but it didn't work that way. Kansas did fight back from a 25-point deficit to tie the game. I wish they could have came back and won just because they're the year they gave us, but
yeah, it would have been great to see Kansas get a bowl win.
Yeah,
but let's just switch over to the meat and bones of it. This is where we're going to get into the real conversations. The New Year's Six bowls were honestly overall up and down. Starting off with the Capital One Orange Bowl, Tennessee took down Clemson. Very impressed with Tennessee and Joe Milton in that game. It makes me confident Tennessee can be a top 15 team again next year, maybe even top 10 with Joe Milton. Obviously, they're losing Hyde and Hooker, so it's not going to necessarily be the same, but they could bring somebody else in. Clemson, extremely disappointing. Extremely disappointing. And I know Dabo probably has some plan to get them back, but do you think Clemson has fallen out as a top 5 program in the country?
Okay. Top 5. See, I don't know. Well, because I think now all these teams are starting to, be really good. Like Tennessee, we see them are on the come up. I'm hoping that Clemson has a response next year, but I was disappointed in how they played. I think that's one of my really main points. They just couldn't score. They couldn't respond to anything. They got into Tennessee's territory on 9 of their first 10 possessions, and the only thing they could come up was 2 field goals. So, yeah.
And it also doesn't help when your kicker's like, what was he, 0 for 4, 0 for 5?
Yeah, good point there.
Yeah, they were getting a lot of opportunities, but listen, the biggest thing is if you rely on your kicker to win a game, then you don't deserve to win the game.
Exactly, like NC State's bowl game, pretty sure. It was all their points were all field goals.
Yep, but you can't, if you rely on your kicker to win a game, you shouldn't win. You don't deserve to win a game. So overall, I mean, for Clemson, they kind of did it to themselves. I really, they need to have a good year next year, or I think this program is just going to continue to fall downhill.
Yeah.
And they're not even. I don't even think they have any right to be the favorite in the ACC next year. I think that completely belongs to Mike Norvell and Florida State.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at this bowl game, and you kind of look at the stats and everything that Tennessee did and Clemson did, and it looks like Clemson should have won. Every stat was in their favor, but nothing would produce. Yeah.
The points, and that's the only one that, at the end of the day, that's the only one that matters, and they just couldn't get the job done. Kate Klubnik did not play as great as I thought.
Yeah.
And now let's switch over. I'm going to save the All-State Sugar Bowl.
Okay.
We'll go to the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. USC Tulane. What happened to USC?
I know. Well, the fact that Utah helped Ohio State get in, I was like, Tulane, let's go. So, that was a really good one for Tulane, a really great game. I'm not sure really what happened with USC. I thought with Caleb Williams winning the Heisman, all this yada yada, just didn't really produce.
I mean, he didn't play bad, though. He played actually really well. Their defense, they got to get some defense in there. They have to get some defense. If they don't get some defense, they're in trouble. Like next year, I'm serious. The Pac-12 is going to be good.
Yeah,
like, they might be the deepest conference in the college football. Like obviously, the Big Ten and the SEC are very, very top heavy. But they might. I mean, outside of really, I think the Big Ten is going to be the only conference that's going to have 3 potential playoff teams right off the bat. Maybe the SEC depends on what Tennessee does. Depends
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Georgia, Bama, obviously. Auburn, no. LSU, maybe. I mean, that's a tough one, but yeah. Back to, USC. They got to get some defense. It's
their tackling. Like it was all year. They just can't. They couldn't tackle. It's like they tried. It's like halfway through it. Like the yards after tackle on whoever they were playing is just like was insane.
Yeah. I mean, watching them when they fell apart in that Pac-12 title game, it's like if their offense goes stale, the game's over. Like they have to keep their offense has to keep putting it on. I mean, that's what they beat UCLA, and I think they let up like 47 points or something like that and beat UCLA.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have some defense. Like you cannot be consistently giving up 40 points a game and expect to be a playoff team. This is a program that should be a playoff team next year. They were right there this year. They had every opportunity to, and they completely blew it. And then they didn't even get a New Year's Six Bowl win. Really disappointing for USC. Really disappointing end to the season. And now let's talk about the granddaddy of them all.
Okay.
The Rose Bowl. I will accept my apology. That you did not believe in Penn State. I don't know how, but I'm sure you may have been unfamiliar with them, but Penn State was one of the most underrated teams. They flew completely under the radar on how good they actually were this year. Like, they were good. And obviously, the Penn State fan, maybe I'm hyping them up a little bit. But think about it. The first game of the season, they won a 4-point game against Purdue on the road. Outside of Michigan and Ohio State, no other game was within double digits. Every other game, they blew everybody out. The only teams, Michigan, they were I believe they were down 1 at halftime to Michigan, and they had Ohio State. I mean, outside of the games Ohio State lost, in a tougher position than anybody put them in.
I was just gonna say that game against Ohio State was another.
Yeah, they gave Ohio State a run for their money, and then Sean Clifford, I don't know, I guess his Alzheimer's kicked in or something, and he just started. Everyone wants to talk about Stetson Bennett being one. I love Sean Clifford. Listen, I love Sean Clifford, but it's time for him to go. And here is maybe my hot take of college football for next year.
Scared to hear it.
The Big Ten, the best quarterback in the Big Ten is Drew Aller. Heading into next season, Drew Aller.
I'm not going to respond to that. I'll say okay.
Drew Aller is the best quarterback in the Big Ten.
Okay.
This is for Penn State. After COVID, they got hit hard by COVID with recruiting, and they just, since James Franklin's gotten there, ever since they blocked that field goal against Ohio State at the whiteout and won that game, this has been a top tier program in the country, top 10 program in the country.
Okay.
They had a rough spot after COVID, the COVID year, then the following year, after Sean Clifford got hurt, and they should have beat Iowa, but Taquan Roberson can't even get a first down. They really, outside of those 2 years, they have been right there.
He's better than JJ McCarthy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's gonna be better than JJ McCarthy.
Okay.
Drew, and even before, like, I love high school football quarterbacks. I love looking at high school football quarterbacks. That's like one of my favorite things. Even before Drew Aller was like, I really like knew he was going to Penn State. I was so high on him. He is ginormous. He's, I believe, 6'4", and he moves so well.
Mm-hmm.
The zip on the ball, he is the best Penn State. He's like the most talented Penn State quarterback in my lifetime. He's better than Hackenberg. He's better than McSorley. He's better than Sean Clifford.
You got really high leverage on him.
Roberson. What?
Your leverage is to the roof for him.
Oh my God, absolutely. I've claimed him as the chosen one. He is the one. He is the one that's, if Penn State's going to win a national championship, I think this is going to be, the next 2 years are going to be so important for James Franklin and this program. Because if they can make a statement, especially if they can find a way into the playoffs next year, which I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but they're getting everybody back, basically. They lost some weapons, but they're getting everybody back. And they're adding one of the best corners in the transfer portal in Storm Duck. But the defense, they replaced Joey Porter with Storm Duck.
Mm-hmm.
Ellis coming back. Defense is going to be just as good as it was this year. Drew Aller, who might be the number one pick in the draft when it's time for him to go to the draft. I'm serious. Like, this guy is going to be a Heisman candidate.
Okay.
I'm serious. Listen.
No, I'm ready. Well, okay, as you say this, though, I'm actually glad, because you hear in the Big Ten, it's always their schedule is so weak. Nobody in the Big Ten is even good. Like, you see Michigan playing Hawaii and all these other teams. And, like, even when you play in conference, like Wisconsin, what did they do this year? Michigan State, what did they do this year? So I'm glad. We need to get these Big Ten teams to be better and produce. And then nobody can start the argument anymore.
Exactly. There's going to be three playoff caliber teams in the Big Ten next year. And if they don't eat each other alive, we might see two of them in there.
I mean, I'm down for it. We need some Big Ten wins.
Not Michigan. I really hope not Michigan. I really don't hope Ohio State either. But
okay. Okay.
Well, come on. I mean, you understand. I mean,
I don't understand.
But last thing I'm going to say, all the flack James Franklin's got over the last few years with how poor he's been able to coach, this was the recruiting class he wanted to get in. He took a year, didn't play a lot of the guys, especially his biggest piece in Drew Aller. And don't forget, I don't know if you know Bo Prabula, the kid sitting behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Watched that kid play since he was a freshman in high school. Went to high school pretty close to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty fucking good too. He's not Drew Aller good, but he's pretty good. They are in a very, very good spot, and I can't wait. And you know what? I may be getting my hopes up. This may just be me being a hopeless romantic, but watch out for Penn State next year.
He can be a Brock Purdy.
He may be. And Drew Aller, he is the chosen one.
We have a lot of quarterbacks in the Big Ten who are going to be interesting to watch. With JJ in second year, Kyle McCord coming to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about Kyle McCord?
I'll wait to talk about him. I'll go on.
Well, you didn't give your thoughts on the Penn State Utah game.
I was just so happy that Utah helped Ohio State get in. So I was watching this game and chill. I don't know. I think Cam Rising getting hurt Utah in the third quarter, so that kind of diminished it. But Penn State had those really big. What was I saying? Their touchdown runs, like they had really big plays.
That's another thing I forgot to mention. That backfield is absurdly good.
Yeah. So
I watched Nick Singleton play. He played against my high school. Ran one of my friends over. Pretty funny. He was a beast in high school. Gatorade National Player of the Year for a reason. But now we will switch over. So I want to do Bama now. What do I want to? We'll do Bama now. We'll talk about the Bama game, but I'm not mentioning the Bama TCU thing. I'm saving that.
Yes.
All right. So Bama, Kansas State. Bama slaughters Kansas State.
But okay, listen to this. Ready? I'm going into this game, and I'm like, Kansas State is going to shock the world. Like, everybody just wait, right? I'm watching this game. They're up 10-7, or they get up 10-0. Didn't they get up 10-0 on them?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're up 10-7. I was looking at my brothers. I was like, guys, I called that. I was so excited. I was like one of those people. I was getting excited in the first quarter. I was like, this is so exciting. And they were like, Gabby, stop talking. And then Alabama just ran them over. And I was so disappointed because I really wanted Kansas State just to give them a little bit of a run later in the game, but they didn't. So it was a little
No. I mean, I never questioned the talent of Bama and how good they were. Bama showed it. Bama put it on full display on how good they were this year. Good for them. Congratulations. You guys got the Sugar Bowl win. I'm not even being sarcastic. That is obviously a great win to have, especially for an SEC school. The Sugar Bowl means a lot.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean as much as the Rose Bowl does of the Big Ten, but, Sugar Bowl is a great win to have. Bama, very impressive. Kansas State, you know what? You made some plays in that game. You had some very shining moments, and I hope for your sake your program is able to repeat the success you had next year. Do I think so? I think you'll be up there. I think it'll be Texas and then probably Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, losing Deuce Vaughn probably hurts.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Bama, on your win. And now it is time to talk about the college football playoffs. Would you like to talk about Ohio State first or second? I will let you choose.
This just you. I'll let you talk, and I'll just go after.
We'll talk about Michigan TCU first.
Okay.
Michigan TCU. Michigan, you should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
You should be absolutely embarrassed. You should. That was probably one of the most demoralizing losses, and you probably didn't even know it in the moment. But you took one of the biggest wins in your program's history. Not only did you beat Ohio State, you beat them by multiple scores on their field, and you ruined it by going out there and losing to TCU, who deserved to be there, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you at no circumstances should you have lost to TCU. You let them run their 3-3-5 defense and expose you. JJ McCarthy, 2 pick sixes. You know what? And I'll give JJ McCarthy credit. That kid showed guts the entire game. He played his ass off. All in all, JJ McCarthy credit. But when it mattered the most, you blew it. Your defense, Max Duggan, what he did to your defense, I hope your defense, I don't even know where to start. Your defense should be – none of those guys look like draft picks out there. You're talking about a team of draft picks. And I know, TCU, Quinn Johnston was one of the best, if not the best receiver in the country this year. Max Duggan was great this year, Heisman candidate. But on no planet were they more talented than Michigan. On no planet should they have been out-coached to that level. You sat there and you took them as a joke. You came in there lollygagging after you threw, and then you go out there, and on the first drive of the game, there's only one team that should be running the Philly special, and they are right behind me. This is what happens when everybody tries to be the Eagles. You're not. You went out there and you embarrassed yourselves because you went out there and you didn't take them seriously. You were so focused on playing Ohio State again or playing Georgia that you got completely skipped over TCU, and they punched you in the mouth for it, and they never let you back. That's what happened. Absolutely embarrassing. And as a Big Ten fan, obviously there is a part of me, college football is different than the NFL.
Yeah.
It wants to see success for the Big Ten because it helps the conference in general. You embarrass yourselves. You probably, and honestly, you beat Ohio State by multiple scores on their field, and they're a better team than you.
Yeah.
They're going to end as a better team than you because of what happened, the way it played out. You let that happen. You embarrass yourselves. You embarrass the Big Ten. Ridiculous. It was horrible. And in the moment, obviously, we didn't realize how bad it was until we watched the national championship. What were your thoughts on that playoff game?
Okay. I was honestly really shocked about just Michigan's play calling because you saw how they played against Ohio State. Everything was just working for them. And they made some mistakes in that game too, but I wasn't understanding anything that they were running. I really just wasn't getting it. All the screen pass, they can run, they can it, they can throw it. JJ has an arm. I wasn't understanding it. I will give it to them. I do think that was a touchdown in the end zone. I completely do think it was a touchdown, but I'm not one to complain about the refs because you can't do anything about it. That's just part of the game. And it's funny because whenever that happened and they were challenging it, I was telling my brothers, I was like, why, dude, they're just going to score. Why do it? And they're like, no, you can't say that because this is what happened in the NFL. And I'm like, okay, I'll just wait. And then the fumble happened. I was like, okay, guys, I will never say that again. Yes. Thank you for just helping me in that situation. But I didn't understand Michigan at all in this. I really didn't.
Yeah. I mean, you can say, it was a touchdown. We all know looking back on it was a touchdown.
Yeah.
But if the next play you fumble the ball, on the 1-yard line. You don't deserve to score.
Yeah.
Michigan had anybody who sits there and tries to blame the game on that touchdown or that non-targeting call just is a sore loser because you had every chance in the world to win that game. Tell your defense to make a damn stop.
And JJ threw 2 interceptions too. So like his
2 touchdowns
were
to TCU.
2, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know, and I'm going to give credit to TCU. The way they prepared so well for that game. They came out ready, and obviously that probably felt like their national championship winning that game because they showed that they deserved it. All credit to them. I know we're talking more what Michigan didn't do. TCU played one of the best games I've seen.
Yeah.
They completely exposed Michigan. The 3-3-5 went perfect.
Yeah.
Caught Michigan off guard. They took advantage of every opportunity they had. They made big play after big play. They took some risks themselves, and they made big play after big play. Obviously, didn't end well for TCU.
Yeah.
Michigan, you should be embarrassed. TCU, even though your season ended the way it did, you should be proud of your season. You went from a team that couldn't even make a bowl game, first-year head coach, a quarterback that not many people have heard of, and you made the playoffs deservingly, won a bowl game against an undefeated Big Ten champion. Hats off to TCU. 100%. All right. It's time, Gabby. Georgia versus Ohio State.
This hurts almost worse than CJ Stroud declaring for the draft.
Well, we're gonna get to that too. You're not getting off easy on that. We're bringing the force down here. My thoughts on the Georgia Ohio State game. I will go first, and then you can go on and you can say everything you want.
Okay.
Ohio State outplayed Georgia. That was the only time this year Georgia's been outplayed. Ohio State was the better team. CJ Stroud, as much as I don't like him as a Penn State fan, my respect for him went up because he played the way Ohio State was able to bounce back. And we talked a lot about CJ Stroud and Ryan Day, about how they just don't have that winner in them. They had the winner in them that night. They absolutely did. Ryan Day coached an amazing game. Ryan Day, all credit to him. He ran 2. And you know what? There's 2 things that really stick out to me. The 4th down play where I believe they had legal motion.
Yes.
Yes. The 4th down play ran a beautiful play, worked, illegal motion. It wouldn't have affected the outcome of the play, but it was a correct call. It was an illegal motion. Correct call. You had the punt. Sucks. Kirby Smart called the greatest timeout in college football, in sports. Even as a North Carolina basketball fan, I would say Chris Webber's timeout in the final 4 greatest timeout of all time. Then it's Kirby Smart's. Kirby Smart, greatest timeout I have ever seen. And the weirdest part is where the difference on the alignment was on the opposite side of him. So the fact that he saw it, recognized it, caught it with his headset off, because he turned off his headset for some reason. It's the special teams headset. Why do you not have it on during the special team? But had it off, and he just ran it too perfect. He called the timeout. If he would have been half a second later, Ohio State wins that game.
Yeah.
Kirby Smart showed why he is the best coach in college football this season. He is better than Nick Saban. Georgia is the best program in the entire country. They are the kings of college football. But the only time in this, I won't say this season, there have been 2 times in the last 2 years where they've been outplayed. SEC title game against Bama last year.
Yeah.
And last night, or the semifinal game. They won that one. And now I'm going to talk about to the idiots on Twitter that are sitting there that are bashing Noah Ruggles for missing that kick.
Yes.
Once again, I've said it once. I'll say it again. If you rely on a kick to win a game, then you don't deserve to win the game, even if you outplay them. The only questionable play calls from Ryan Day were on that last drive. Some things I was interested about. CJ Stroud, hell of a last drive. Hell of a game from CJ Stroud in general. Was it probably targeting the end zone? Probably. Yeah. But again,
some sort of foul.
Yeah. If you need a ref's call to win you a game, then you shouldn't have won the game to begin with. It's just the way it went. Just like if it would have been called that, Georgia fans would have been like, if he wouldn't have called targeting, there wasn't targeting, then you wouldn't have deserved to win the game. Exactly. Both teams deserved to win that game. Maybe Ohio State deserved it a little bit more. Both teams played amazing. Ohio State, absolutely impressed, outplayed Georgia. Stetson Bennett, the way they were able to come back in that game, the leadership he showed, although he may not be the most athletic, talented quarterback in the world, he has the guts of a champion, That is why he's won back-to-back national championships. And that is why he's going to end as one of the greatest stories in college football history.
Mm-hmm.
But even as a Penn State fan, hats off to Ryan Day, hats off to C.J. Stroud, hats off to Ohio State in general in that game. Gabby, take the floor.
All right. I was just going to say, my takeaways from this. The thing I'm just really, proud about, and I was just kind of watching the game, I was like, okay, this honestly does make me excited for next year. I know C.J. Stroud won't be with us, upsettingly, but with Ryan Day, the way they responded from the Michigan loss, and it translated every adjustment they needed to make during that Michigan game was made during the Georgia game. They didn't run cover zero too many times. They dropped back people to help. It was really refreshing to see. They let CJ Stroud run the ball. CJ took it with his legs half the times when he could have. It was really refreshing to see that. And I'm glad that Ryan Day at least showed that he's not going to be stubborn and continue to run offense and things that are just not working. So I'm glad that, we made some adjustments and some better calls, I guess. But yeah, leaving it to a kick, you can't. There's just no way you can win like that. It's a 50, and it's people are acting like it was some 25-yard field goal. That's
it was so hard
field goal. It's a 50-yard field goal. Granted, he did make a 48-yarder earlier in the game, but a 50-yard field goal, it's just that's not like a piece of cake to kickers. And I know people are like, oh, that's a kicker's job, but come on, it's your job to do a lot of things, and you can still do things wrong.
Exactly.
We kind of balanced it out in the middle of the game. Our two tight ends were out. Cade Stover and Darnell Washington was a huge loss to Georgia, but we had Cade Stover out. So kind of evened it up in that aspect. Oscar Delp came in for Georgia in place of Darnell Washington, and Georgia has the deepest tight end room ever. They produce in that aspect insanely good. So Oscar played a really good position there. It was good to see. Marvin Harrison Jr. was continuously catching his passes that he was supposed to. So he was doing everything he could. I was upset to see he got hurt because I think that really honestly changed the game. It upsets me more knowing how the outcome of the national championship was, because as you're just watching that and the beatdown of TCU, you're just like, that literally could be us.
Yeah, that had to be. I mean, I believe that the Michigan – I can't speak as an Ohio State fan, but the Michigan loss probably be one of the most embarrassing losses.
Yeah.
Lose by double digits at home to your most hated rival. But probably nothing breaks the heart more than that Georgia loss, because and especially the way you saw it, realistically, Ohio State was one play, whether it was the no timeout, whether it was the illegal motion, the field goal, targeting call, CJ Stroud not throwing a balloon pass there, CJ Stroud, maybe a better play call on the final drive once you got down in field goal range. They were one play away from winning that game, and it has to suck. I mean, as for a Ohio State fan, that sucks.
I didn't understand the last drive at all. We're not going to get a touchdown. Granted, if we did, yay, congrats. But just you're in a position where you are going to have to kick a field goal to win the game. Why don't you just get down the field, do whatever you can? I'm like, why are you throwing it to the outside? Just run it up. Or it was so annoying. I was
that I didn't get. Why not try to line it up to where Ruggles is more comfortable and best? Why not get as many yards as you can? Those are the only time. The only time in the game that I looked at Ryan Day and I was like, what are you doing,
exactly.
man? I know my head. He had so many head scratching calls against Michigan, but overall, a great coach game by Ryan Day. Didn't end the way Ohio State wanted to.
No.
But, you played Georgia. If you played anybody else in the entire world outside of NFL teams in Georgia, you beat anybody else that day. You would have beat Michigan by 70. You would have beat TCU by 800 in the national championship. You would have beat Alabama. You would have beat anybody. You were the second. You were the best team in the world that day, and the second best team in the world was just slightly more lucky.
Yeah.
And now let's talk about the brutalness of the national championship game. I want to say TCU should be embarrassed, because obviously there is an embarrassing factor when you lose by 50 in the biggest stage of college football. But TCU is a team that wasn't supposed to be there. Many regard them as the worst team in the Big 12. They completely flipped their program around. They earned the right to be there. So looking back on the season, it was a successful season. Obviously, you leave with your head hanging. You lost by 58, understandable. What were any thoughts related to the national championship? I mean, I'm sure. there's not much to digest there. But
Exactly. I was just gonna say, there's like not much to say. It was just a brutal dominance. Like there just wasn't a point where I was like, oh, TCU could really like come. It's just
there was
Georgia
one point
was
when they had the big play and scored the touchdown. I was like, ooh, we might have a game.
Yeah, and yeah.
We did.
But past the second half, I'm like, this is just it was a brutal dominance. Georgia showed exactly why they're the best team in the country. I don't TCU fans shouldn't be so down about them. I think that like I don't know. I mean, the ending to that obviously very upsetting, but the game before that, I mean, they against Michigan. The thing is like against Michigan, I was like, oh my gosh, like wow, this is everybody look right now, like this is why TCU should be here, like yada yada yada. And then this happened. I wish they gave them more of a run for their money, just to help their little like they're saying, but there's not really.
All right, I'm going to talk about it now. I'm going to mark the timestamp 36 minutes. Charles, JT, or myself, whoever ends up clipping this, clip this part. Alabama, you did not deserve to make the playoff. I don't care if you were the best team in the country. You didn't deserve to make the playoffs. You didn't deserve it. I'm sorry. And if I see these people that sit there and think Bama deserved it, just don't understand. What is the point of playing the games if we're just going to go with the four most talented teams? Just put Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama in there every year because that's just how it is. You play the games. I don't want to hear we would have been favored against all of – I don't care. You were favored against Tennessee and you lost. You were double-digit favorites against LSU and you lost. You lost to a 4-loss LSU team who lost to Texas A&M, a team you barely beat. The only loss TCU had was in their Big 12 title game, a game you didn't get to play in because you didn't earn it, because you lost to LSU, to a team. TCU lost to a team that they already beat. Drop your ego. Drop the entitlement. This is the exact reason why I do not like Alabama and I do not like Notre Dame, because they have this sense of entitlement. There's other schools, there's some SEC schools like that are just sometimes it's like, dude, like stop. Like I get it, you're in the SEC. The SEC, I know you love the SEC. Maybe not as much in football.
Yeah,
I think the SEC is a little overrated. I still think they're the overall probably the best conference in the country. But you didn't. Yes, teams that are better than TCU on paper, just straight rosters. Tennessee better. Penn State was better on paper. Overall was better. Texas was probably better. I can probably continue. I mean, USC better. Clemson was probably better on paper. Are you going to tell me they deserve to be in over them?
Yeah.
They have a conference title. They had 2 losses in a conference title. Why do you get to be in over Clemson? Tennessee beat you, and why do you get to be in over Tennessee? You did nothing to earn it. You had no impressive wins. Your most impressive win came in the bowl game, so that doesn't even count.
Yeah.
Your best wins were Texas. You beat them by 1 without their starting quarterback. Mississippi State, 4-loss team, wasn't ranked. Ole Miss, 4-loss team, wasn't ranked. TCU beat Texas by more with their starting quarterback playing. And then the only team that they lost to was a top 10 team in the conference championship after they beat them. Drop the entitlement, please. Because if you don't, Georgia's going to continue to mud stomp you. If you want to guarantee your spot in the playoff, then play a tougher schedule. Grow something and go play Georgia every year. Why do you not play Georgia every year? Why do you play an FCS team every year and basically give yourself a bye week before you have to play Auburn instead of going out there and playing Georgia? You play one less conference game than every other Power 5 school. You play a bunch of, I don't even know who these FCS kids are. I mean, I don't want to disrespect the FCS. That was unnecessary. FCS is very, very talented. It's very, very talented. It's Division I football for a reason. I would get murdered if I played there. But I just don't. You have this sense of entitlement that you deserve to make the playoffs every year because you have Nick Saban. Well, guess what? You're not the kings of college football anymore. You're not. Nick Saban is not the best coach in college football anymore. It's just a simple fact of the matter. It's not. Because I'll guarantee you, Georgia would have beat you by 21 on national championship night. They would beat anybody by 3 scores that night.
Yeah.
I would bet Ohio State to beat you. I would have bet Michigan to beat you. I did bet Tennessee to beat you, and they did. And you know what? I probably would have bet Penn State to beat you because they looked impressive at times. Bam, at no point this season did you jump off the paper and impress anybody. The only reason you had any argument to make the playoff is because your name is Alabama.
Yeah.
And that's not enough. That's not enough. If the best part of your resume is your losses, you don't have a damn resume. And if you want to use your 2 losses or close losses, then I'm going to take that Texas A&M, a 4-win team at your place who you beat by 3, who was what were they 15 yards short of winning the game? You beat by 15 yards, and I'm knocking that against you. And that's going to hurt a hell of a lot more than either of those losses combined will help. So that's the end I'm going to say. I'm done talking about Bama. You did nothing impressive. You didn't deserve it. TCU got the spot they deserved. They showed it, and they beat Georgia or Michigan. They didn't beat Georgia. Trust me. They did the opposite of beat Georgia. That is the end. Bama, I'm not talking about you again until I do a preseason preview. You're not special. Sorry.
Good.
Thank you. But looking at next season, if you had to right now, give me your 4 playoff teams looking going into next season. Just off the top of the head.
Ohio State wins Natty. Let's go. All right. Ohio State, Georgia. Yeah, I'm going to go. I want to say Michigan again because they're going to have Blake Corum back and JJ McCarthy. Well, not this JJ some like. I don't know. Let me think about this. All I know is Ohio State and Georgia.
Fair.
I want to say USC, but they have no they got to get a defense.
Okay.
Just because of Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Let me think. No, actually I won't. All right. Well, who are your top 4?
Mine.
Yep.
Georgia's 1.
Ohio State, Penn State.
USC.
Okay, look, I just
Texas. I think Texas is going to be really, really good next year.
I don't like that pick.
I love the pick. I think Texas is going to be really, really good next year. I think Quinn Ewers is going to take a step up. They were probably the best 5-loss team in the country ever this year.
So you think Ewers will start?
Oh, absolutely. And if he sucks, they're going to put Manning in real quick.
Okay.
But no, I don't know because I think they might redshirt Archie.
You think he's going to have their short leash on him? Well, I guess if they redshirt Archie.
No, because I do think they'll redshirt Arch. But
okay.
Texas is my sleeper team. No, because my sleeper team is Penn State. They're going in at number 4.
Okay.
This is going to be the year. I think.
Wait, do you have Ohio State in there?
No, because they're going to lose Penn State. Penn State's won the Big Ten. Wait, let me think. Now you got me thinking. What do I? No, Penn State's definitely in there. But I'm trying to think of Texas. Texas does play Bama next year. I forgot about that. So Texas is out because I think they're going to have 2 losses. I think they're going to drop a big – I think they're going to win the Big 12, but I think they'll drop a Big 12 game, and I think they'll lose to Bama. So that they're playing in Tuscaloosa. So,
okay.
Yeah, I guess we'll it's either Bama or Ohio State because if Ohio State's only lost to Penn State, I mean but they're coming in. Oh, they're winning next year. They're coming in the shoe.
Okay, but Penn State's going to Ohio State, so you can't.
Yeah, and they're going to win it. Oh, they're going to win.
Okay.
Oh, watch it. We'll see.
You have no faith in Kyle McCord.
No, I have more faith in Drew Aller. He is the chosen one.
Okay. I'm excited for this because all these like not new quarterbacks, but like on the come up quarterbacks are going to all be playing against each other.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, I think JJ McCarthy absolutely has something to prove now.
Yeah.
After that. But no, for real, I'm probably going to say I'll go Georgia 1, Ohio State 2.
Yeah.
USC 3. For me, it comes down to Bama, Penn State, or Michigan, realistically. I
hope Bama doesn't. Like, I really hope.
I'm not just because I want to stick it to Bama fans because you suck, all of you. I'm putting Penn State 4. I'm telling you, and I genuinely believe Penn State can very well be a playoff team next year.
Okay.
I 100% have confidence and believe in that.
Okay.
So I'm going to say Penn State 4. I forgot. Oh, this is tough because I forgot about Florida State.
I've gotten a lot of messages recently about Florida State football. I'm like, yes, they did show something this year. They definitely did, but
they're going to be really good next year. But
contenders,
I don't think they're going to get there. I think the issue is I don't think they play a strong enough schedule. I think they're going to if they lose one game, they're screwed. I think they would put in a one-loss Big Ten team over a one-loss ACC team.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, because you have to be like Clemson level in the ACC. How Clemson was when they had Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence.
Clemson has a lot to show this coming year.
Oh, they're going to be terrible. I'm so low on them. Oh, I'm so low on
They got to do something or else. Yeah.
But I would say I'm going to stick with my 4. I'm going to go. All right, my official 4. Georgia 1, undefeated SEC champs. Ohio State 2, undefeated Big Ten champs. USC 3, 1-loss Pac-12 champs. Penn State 4, 1-loss Big Ten. Oh, technically not runner-ups, but realistically runner-ups. I mean,
put Tennessee in there.
No. It's Penn State. It's Penn State. Then Penn State's going to beat Georgia. They're going to get a revenge against Ohio State. And the national championship's coming to Happy Valley.
Where's the championship next year? Miami? No, Texas? Isn't in Texas?
I think it might be in AT&T Stadium. What is it? 2024 national championship. I
think it was.
I want to say Texas.
Yeah, I know Texas and Miami were like the next, like, runner-ups.
NRG Stadium.
Oh.
So Houston.
Well, we were right.
Yep. So
you know what team I'm excited to see?
Who?
Iowa. Because I've always been a fan of Hudson Card.
That's honestly fair because I think Iowa had a really, really good defense this year. Really good. Really underrated. I just think they had one of the worst offenses ever.
Yeah, no, they did. Addition of Hudson Card. There we go.
Yeah, I honestly like that. I like that pick. They're gonna be sneaky good next year.
I hope. Yeah, I need another one of those teams.
They're probably gonna win their division just because that division's abysmal. But Wisconsin, don't forget about Wisconsin. Luke Fickell's gonna turn them around. I really like the Luke Fickell hiring.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think all the teams who have new head coaches are obviously going to be on the spotlight, especially Colorado with Deion Sanders coming in.
Yeah.
So
listen, I think here's the thing. Realistically, I think Colorado's gonna be a hell of a lot better. I think they're gonna make a very, very good. They're gonna make a bowl game, a pretty good one too. They'll probably go about 8-4, 9-3. But to people that think they're gonna instantly become a playoff team, I could see them making the playoff the following year when there's a 12-team playoff.
Exactly.
But this year, no, not this coming season.
The Big 12 add some teams this year too?
No, that's next year. They add them. They are adding Houston, BYU, Cincinnati, and who else? UCF. Yeah, I got it right. UCF are adding the following year when.
Oh,
because that's when USC and UCLA go to the Big Ten. Everyone shifts the next year because that's when they go to 12.
Okay.
That's gonna be weird because you know what the Big Ten's doing?
Are they getting rid of divisions?
They're keeping divisions for scheduling purposes only.
Oh, okay.
So they're gonna schedule we'll still play Penn State and Ohio State every year. Still see Ohio State, Michigan every year, but they're not gonna play. But the championships can be the 2 best teams.
Oh, well, good. That's how it should be.
Yeah, so we could see Ohio State, Penn State. You could what would have happened with Ohio State would have lost to Michigan. Very next week would have gone and played Michigan again.
I don't know if I like that or not, but I'm gonna have to deal with it.
I mean, it's gonna be better because it's gonna be better than watching Purdue limp out there and get beat by 70. But yeah, that was brutal. But
yeah, that was brutal. But
well, thank you, Gabby, once again for coming on. I do appreciate it. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. If you're tuning in after this goes live, sorry you missed a chance to comment. Didn't have a lot. We didn't have as many as I. No. All right. Never mind. All right. Well, thank you once again, Gabby. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you follow college football content. It's going to take a rest for a bit. Bama, talk your shit. I don't care. You're irrelevant. I don't care. But that's all. Thank you guys for tuning in.